Okay, everybody, welcome to YKLM TV. I'm Toni McAfee. I'm from YKLM Auctions. Today, we have invited artist Catherine Adamson to our gallery to introduce her free flow style paintings. Everyone, good afternoon. Today we have artist Catherine Adamson in the gallery here. We have invited her to be in our second affordable art online auction. So Catherine, would you tell us about yourself?
So my name is Catherine Adamson. The first 4 years of my life were spent in Richmond, and then I was raised in Langley and have just recently come back to Richmond. I'm living in an artist collective, sort of, with Concord Pacific called Richmond Arts Village, RAV. So we're really excited to be participating in a lot of Richmond arts events. And certainly our collaboration with the LaPont Gallery is something that we're really looking forward to spending more time doing, and we have so far in the past. My painting has evolved over the years, as I guess most artists would say. I started with painting with paintbrush on canvas and have progressed to dripping paint from above and letting it form these strings and ropes that fall down onto a prone canvas, and it creates quite a different marking that would be quite different from what you could achieve with a brush. So that's what I like about it, is it's very different. It creates a depth and a movement and an energy on the canvas that is different than what I did with a brush on canvas. So I've been working on this for the last 10 years or so, and my painting sales have been quite successful, and I've won a few awards, and I'm really enjoying the process, and I'm not quite ready to give that up yet.
That's why we're inviting you back.
Thank you.
I can tell there's a lot of energy involved in your painting. Like this one is called Merengue.
Yes.
Merengue is a Haitian and a Dominican dance, right?
Yes, it's a dance, and so when I'm painting in my studio, I usually have the music cranked up high, and a lot of the music will inspire what I'm doing on the canvas. So with the Merengue series, I think this is Merengue 14 or so. It reminds me of Latino dancing, this nice movement that has a little sex appeal to it and a little sway, and it's got some swagger, and it's got a nice rhythm and beat to it. So when I started doing this, I have a whole series called Salsa as well, but then this color scheme I've called Merengue. And it just reminds me of that kind of dance and movement. And when I'm dripping the paint, I'm just putting it in circles and swirling and moving, and yes, I have a very messy studio, but that's part of the fun of it, is just letting go on the canvas. And anyway, so that's my Merengue series. So there's like the flowers are dancing and having a good time.
It's been a popular series in the gallery here. It sells pretty well.
Yes, the Merengue.
Yeah. I can tell that you don't use a brush, as you just said. You use a stick. You dip the stick into the paint, and
yes,
you just splash it. I can tell that sometimes you cannot go back and redo it. Or can you just go with the flow and then make a shape? Or
yes. So sometimes if I make a mistake, then I'll go back and I'll use that mistake and expand on it, and then make it something that looks purposeful, right, rather than a mistake.
So instead of doing everything precisely according to a sketch.
Yeah, no sketching.
No sketching.
Yeah, there's no sketching involved whatsoever in any of my paintings. So I have an idea, I start with the background, and then it sort of evolves. Sometimes I know what I'm going to be painting, similar, painting the Sweetness series is another one, and that's okay. But other times I'll get the sky and I'll get some grasses, and I'm not sure, am I going to go trees, or am I going to go flowers, or am I going to go something else? And it just kind of comes to me as it goes along. When I say mistakes, usually a mistake for me is when something lands right in the middle. So then your eyes are just focused right on that, and no artist wants to have something right in the middle. So, or Or one time I'll have the paint will just fall in a way that makes some kind of symbol that's a recognizable symbol. Like one time I had a swastika by mistake. Just like, oh no, and then I looked at it, so I had to change that. But most of the time I just keep adding to it until everything kind of blends, until I figure, okay, that's
you
enough.
feel satisfied.
Yeah, I usually let it dry for 2 days. I'll not look at it, force myself to not look at it, and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes after 48 hours and go, oh no, it needs a little bit of yellow, or it needs a little bit of this. Or worst case scenario, paint the whole thing white and start again.
Oh my God.
I've done it a few times, yeah.
So, do you plan your layers like this one? Apparently, you did the green layer, the greenish blue layer in the first.
Yes.
And then you do the swirls and then the stem and the flower.
Yeah. So with all of them, start with the background and work your way to the forefront, right? So yeah, the last things on would be the little wispy grasses at the front, and same with this one. So yeah, to get the background done first. And with a lot of these, not all, but a lot of the merengues have this aqua-colored background, and then I've got 2 or 3 shades of different lighter or darker turquoises that I do the swirls in. And it's the same with the flowers. I start with the darker colors and work my way up to lighter ones on the surface.
So how do you plan your colors? Is there a palette that you use, or you just go with the flow? I see there's some red there. Sometimes I see some red there, some red there. Do you do it spontaneously?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
So this, let me see. Okay, so in most of my paintings, it's kind of my signature. I do with a brush, I do the whole background color before I start dripping. And then the next thing I do is this red stripe. So I dip it in this bright red paint and just go along, usually along the bottom. So you can see the red stripe. Those little bits of red are part of the stripe.
I see.
That goes
yeah, I see. There's a.
Yeah, and then there's one in this one as well. It's closer to the bottom. You can usually check the side and see where it ends up, but I don't know if I did on that. Yeah, I did do one. I can see the red stripe. Yeah, so I've got so most of them I do that red stripe, and that's sort of my own little personal signature.
It certainly highlights some certain areas in your painting, like the red stripe.
Yeah, sometimes you can see it and sometimes not at all, but I know it's there.
Layers and layers.
Yeah, usually if you look at the side, you can see that little stripe on the side, that drip, and I go, oh yeah, then there's a red stripe under there, but you can't really see it. But yeah, so sometimes it's spontaneous and sometimes it's planned. If it's in part of a series, then the flowers have got the same kind of color, but I change things up for the greens and that. And same with the sunflower series. I've sold a lot of the sunflowers, and those pretty much have a similar palette for each one, but because I'm dripping from above and it's all messy, every painting is different. I cannot make 2 paintings exactly the same. That would be impossible. Yeah.
And nobody can copy you ever.
They could try. I've had so I have people that come online, find my website, and then email me, and we go back and forth, and then they get some paints and they try it out, and then they send me pictures of what they did. So they're trying, but I think it just takes a few years to really get the ability to build the depth. And like a lot of people are just in a hurry and they start with the surface stuff and then try to go behind. That doesn't work. So yeah.
Everybody has their own language.
Yeah.
So what are your biggest influences?
Well, Jackson Pollock, because he was one of the first in the 50s with a canvas on the ground and buckets of paint and a big brush and splashing things from above onto the ground. So that's what I do. My paintings are on a table on little blocks so they don't stick to the table because of all the dripping on the side. But and mine are pre-stretched canvases, whereas he had raw canvas. But it's the same kind of concept as just letting the paint drip from something or splat from something, and then kind of building up with those mark makings, right? So every tool that you have makes a certain kind of mark, just like any width of a brush will make a different mark, right? So with dripping the paint, and I use wooden sticks, those flat wooden stir sticks you get from the paint store, and build up about a couple inches on the bottom, and then let it drip from the top. So, and depending on what I'm doing, I'll let it drip quite a long time back into the container until it's like this thin thread-like line, and then I'll have that for certain things, like you can see in the pink on the top of the flower. And then other times it's thicker paint that you have, like this thicker greens. So that's like right out of the pot onto it. So yeah, so I can kind of change the thickness of the paint.
Requires a lot of, it looks like it's very liberating process, but
Yes.
it sounds like it's also requiring a lot of skills on controlling the
I think,
traces.
yeah, yes and no. I think the more you do it, the easier it becomes, so it doesn't seem like a skill, I'm just doing it. But it's like with anything that you practice, what's that the Malcolm Gladwell, who said the 10,000 hour rule, right? You practice anything for over 10,000 hours and you become an expert at it. Yeah, so I've passed my 10,000 hours on this.
So this painting is called Sweetness. Is a baby version of your large scale painting.
Yeah, with the color scheme. Yes, it is. Yeah.
So let's walk over to your large painting.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So now we're in front of Catherine's large scale painting called Flora. Flora means a lot of flowers. So Catherine, this painting has been in our gallery since your last solo exhibition.
Yes.
It draws so much attention.
Oh, good.
From the streets, everybody comes in because of this painting. Where everybody's asking, oh my God, the first time I see a painting like this one, I can see there's so much work. And then you have some small insects, I think, in this painting somewhere.
I think
It's really wild, it's really liberating, and really like grandiose. So how long did it take for you to make
this one took over a month to make. And because of its size and because of it being on over 2 tables and taking up so much room in my studio, that's all I worked on for over a month. If you can imagine flat and then trying to reach the middle of it was difficult. So there was a lot of flying paint in this one.
Yeah, I can see there's a lot of very bold lines there.
Yes.
Very like free bold lines, really wild lines. I assume you really enjoyed the process.
Oh, I did. I did.
Expressing
Yeah. So this one and Wild, the one called Wild, that's the same size. So yeah, it's there was a girl in Vancouver who had made these canvases, and she had painted an abstract, just kind of block colors, abstract on it, which was not terribly successful, and she just wanted to get rid of the canvases. So she put it on I think Craigslist, that she had these 2 large canvases. So I went out and looked at them, and the actual canvas was good and fairly well built. So I bought them from her, and then had to strap them on the roof of my little car and drive home. It was kind of an adventure, but anyway, I'm quite happy with the transformation with these 2 paintings that I had. But yeah, I just kept adding more and more things. Added little ferns and fiddleheads and different flowers. Yeah.
Some people say it looks like the paradise, a garden in paradise. Is it based on a real garden somewhere, or your imagination?
Well, the Garden of Paradise is kind of biblical,
Yeah.
which I'm not in the least. So I think originally this color scheme for these flowers what came before this canvas on a smaller one, and it was the lipstick series, so the lipstick paintings. So there's a few, I don't know how far I went up, but the first one was for my mother's 75th birthday. I was trying to mix with red and white, trying to mix a certain shade of pink I wanted for flowers to paint her a painting for her birthday, and I ended up getting this coral color. And then when I looked at it, I go, oh my gosh, that's the color that my mother's lipstick used to be when she was younger. And probably in China you don't have the Avon lady, but here in
Actually, we do. We do have Avon ladies. Some of my schoolmates in college, they were selling Avon.
Oh, is that
makeup.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in China too. So I grew up on farms way out in the countryside. So we didn't go into town shopping very often, but the Avon lady used to come by, and she was the mother of one of the boys I went to school with, so everybody knew Mrs. Hanson, the Avon lady. And so Mom used to get this coral cut the lipstick from her, but I was one of 4 sisters, and so the Avon lady had these little practice tubes, these little samples, these little white tubes. I don't know if you remember those little white tubes of lipstick. So each of us girls got to choose our own color, and it was like a big thing when the Avon, like when you're little girls, right? When the Avon lady comes, you get to have a lipstick to play with. And anyway, so I ended up calling the painting that I did for my mom lipstick, just because that color reminds me of the lipstick she wore when I was a little girl. Anyway, so it's been very popular. I've sold lots of them, and then I wanted to do a big one like it, but a little bit more involved.
So very beautiful, very beautiful.
I actually spent a lot of time on the background, which most people don't notice because it's just the background. But if you look at it, you see there's many, many colors. I go through shades of purple, shades of blue, shades of turquoise, and then work my down to some creams. So I'll spend several days just on the background and then start building up the earth and the bottom. So I usually start with earth colors before I do the greenery, and then build it layer on layer. And yeah, so just about the last thing I do are the flowers, and then a few more wisps of green. But
audiences tell me that they can spend hours looking at this painting to look at everything, all the grass, everything. Yeah. So do you have any messages to our visitors?
Enjoy. I think one of the biggest validations as an artist is to evoke an emotional response from the viewer. So if somebody feels some emotion, then I know I've been successful with my painting. I've had few people, especially with the lipstick series, the smaller ones, actually burst into tears because it reminds them, two people actually that are not related, and it was like a year apart, told me that it reminded them of the poppy fields from the south of England where they grew up as children. So yeah, which I've never seen, but that's what it reminded them of, their childhood, and then they had an emotional response to it, which is very nice.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. I particularly like the background, which is the sky of this painting. I like the color, the combination of the colors.
Thank you.
Yeah. They also talk to these flowers here, the color scheme also talk to these flowers.
Yes. Yeah, I try and put some of those colors into a few of the flowers, or a few little, or sometimes I'll just do some little splats of the colors that are mostly hidden. But yeah, the purples pick up on that a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have any blue flowers in this one. Yeah, just purple, and then I used magentas and red, so this has quite a bit of this nice magenta I've got. One of my favorite colors. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming into our gallery and talk to the audience about your art. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for watching today's YKLM TV. Please don't forget to visit yklm.ca and bid on affordable art, especially Catherine's paintings. Thanks so much.